It's believed as much as 3% of the world's population is transgender. But what does that mean exactly? It may seem like it's rare, but being transgender is more common than you think. And everybody who's trans will define it slightly differently. So for this episode of Stacy Links Presents, I will go through the definition of transgender. When I come back... Alright, so welcome to my channel. I'm Stacy, and in this episode of Stacy Links Presents, I'm going to talk about the definition of the word transgender. Now, many of us will define it in different ways, and oftentimes it's because of personal reasons, but the overall definition of transgender is pretty consistent amongst circles. Before I get started, what I'll get you to do, if you're new to this channel and you're a transgender person or a member of the LGBTQIA+ community, or even if you're just an ally of the community, make sure you go down below in this video and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you click the little bell beside to be notified anytime I upload new content to my channel. I also recommend you go to my channel page and check out all my back episodes. I have videos on makeup, fashion, jewelry, as well as documenting my transition and advocating for the LGBT community. And don't forget, if you're not following me on social media, make sure you check out my Facebook, my Instagram, and my TikTok accounts. I'll put all the links in the description below. So before I get into defining what transgender means, we need to understand what gender means. Because gender and sex are completely different. Sex is how you were born on the outside, your physical parts, and gender is how you identify on the inside. Gender is rooted in the hypothalamus of the brain, which becomes fully developed between the ages of 3 and 7. And by about that time is usually when we realize that we are different than other people. The hypothalamus is also connected directly to the adrenal gland, and the adrenal gland is what produces the majority of hormones that are circulating in your body, other than certain other glands, as well as your gonads will produce your primary sex hormone. But in either way, the hypothalamus controls automatic functions in the body, so that means that gender is also considered an automatic function. It's just a part of who we are. Cisgender people, cisgender meaning that your gender identity matches your biological sex, don't question their gender because to them, everything lines up. But in transgender people, we question our gender and our sex right from an early age. So then what is transgender? Transgender, the literal definition, means that our gender identity is incongruent with the sex we were assigned at birth, which means that how we identify on the inside is different than what's on the outside. Again, as I mentioned earlier, cisgender people never have to worry about what gender they are compared to their biological sex because they line up. But for people like us in the trans community, it can be a lot more confusing. For some transgender people, it could just mean changing your presentation, how you look on the outside, growing your hair or cutting it, wearing makeup or not, changing your name and pronouns. These are all social aspects. But for some transgender people, they may fall under the umbrella of non-binary, so their gender identity may be totally, completely different than the societal norms of just man or woman. And sometimes we can identify, like myself, as a transgender woman and still be non-binary. So the non-binary under the transgender umbrella can be very confusing for people, especially cisgender people who don't understand what non-binary actually means. Non-binary means that you don't conform to the masculine or feminine standard, where you're somewhere in between, or you switch back and forth, or your presentation doesn't always match one side or the other, where it's sometimes a combination of the two. So for cisgender people who don't totally understand what non-binary is, it can be very confusing. These people that use they them pronouns, there's a lot of cisgender people out there that don't understand that they them has always been used as a singular pronoun and was just adapted as a plural pronoun. within the last several hundred years. So oftentimes transgender people will pursue HRT, and in rare occasions they will also pursue surgery. So this is an article from Quorum, which references to the transgender survey that was done in 2015. This article says that 78% of transgender people pursue HRT, but only 49% have actually received it. And then underneath it says 1 in 4 have had some sort of surgical procedure done. 42% of transgender men and 28% of transgender women have had some sort of surgery. So here's the website that has the link to the report from the transgender survey in 2015. It has the full report and the summary report. I'll put the link to this website in the description below so you can go check it out if you like. So I got this article here from the National Library of Medicine. It's a US government website that talks about how many people have pursued hormone therapy since 2008. And it says here that 67% of all people that were studied in this survey were trans women going on feminization hormone therapy, and that 33% of them were transgender men going on testosterone therapy. And I'll put the link to this article down below as well so you can go check it out. It's a really good read. And now it's well known that surgical procedures for trans people are a lot less common than going on HRT, but it does say in this article here, transgender women have reported surgical rates between 8 and 25% of top surgery, that would be breast augmentation, and 4 to 13% for genital surgery. So surgery is really not very common at all, and even 13% of the entire trans population is still a very small number. It's believed that 1.6 million people in the US identify as transgender of some kind. So, but despite the fact that it seems like it's a really small number, it's a lot more common than you think. So once again, I'll put the links to these articles in the description below this video here. I urge you go check them out. They are a really good read. They are very detailed in the studies that they've done, but this gives us a pretty good idea of the demographic of transgender people. It covers mainly the United States, but it's pretty common around the world that these numbers are pretty consistent. And if you have any other questions about transgender people or transgender in general, make sure you drop a comment down below in this video and I'll do my best to give you an answer. So in summary, a very small number of transgender people will actually pursue surgery. It is actually more like 20 to 25% in total, where barely about half of all transgender people are able to get on HRT to begin with. There are many restrictions in different places all over the world, and even in the United States, state by state, restrictions are different and requirements are different between each state. And in Canada, it's kind of the same way, where each province is slightly different in how you can get on HRT, requirements for surgery, and surgical procedures that are actually covered by government healthcare. Alright, so thanks for watching. Make sure you smash that thumbs up button down below. And as I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions, make sure you drop a comment down below. Or if you're a transgender person, you'd like to share your experiences of HRT or surgical experiences, make sure you drop a comment. And stay watching for my next episode, and I'll see you then. Bye!